Hello, everybody. Sam,
Well,
Sam and Jessica again, group four. For our discussion, we had the following. Two special education students were sent to your office for a physical fight in gym class. One student has a learning disability in reading, and the other has a behavioral disorder. During your investigation, you uncovered that the behavior disordered student has also brought a switchblade to school with intent of harming the other student. Discuss your protocol in dealing with both students.
so I guess my first thought was, I guess, first and foremost, you do need to figure out if the behavior disordered student does indeed have a switchblade with them. If they do, of course, remove that from the student's possession. That way that's not floating out there. You would want to then investigate the situation to seek out what exactly happened. That would involve maybe talking with both of the students separately, anyone who maybe was in the room, teachers or students who were close by. You would also want to, if there was a switchblade, you would want to see how big the blade was. I guess I'm not exactly sure as far as laws in Nebraska, but I know in South Dakota, if the blade is less than 3 inches, it's not considered a weapon. In Iowa, I believe it's if it's less than 5 inches, it's not considered a deadly weapon. So that'd be something to look into. You would obviously want to, if you don't already know offhand, check on what your district's policy is as far as what discipline they've got in the policy for physical fighting and weapons, depending on whether the switchblade qualifies as a weapon. Um, you would maybe want to then contact the SRO if your school has one, if not, just law enforcement in general, parents, etc., all of that. You would want to look into whether the behavior is a manifestation of the student's disorders. It kind of sounds like the first student, it probably wouldn't be. They're on an IEP for a speech disorder. However, the behavior disordered student, it may potentially be depending on what their behavior disorder is. Um, and then I guess as far as the discipline, if suspension is something that would be warranted, you would want to definitely make sure that you have a manifestation determination review if needed, and look into whether that student has already been suspended at all for the year, because of course, if you go over 10 cumulative total days of suspension, you have to have a manifestation. Um, Go ahead and jump in, Sam.
All right, yeah, I think that great answer. My response would be very similar, a lot of the same stuff. Obviously, like Jessica said, the first thing I would do is find the knife, find the switchblade, safety first, make sure there's not a knife floating around in some kid's locker or something. Um, I would then call or contact the proper authorities. We at my school have an SRO, so I'd make sure he knows what's going on if he doesn't already. And then I would contact local authorities, not to like press charges or anything, but just to let them know that there was an incident with a blade. Um, then immediately contact the parents, let the parents know what's going on. Um, any counselors or mental health practitioners in the school I would contact, and then maybe the case manager of the students and or the head of the special education department, just because it seems like pretty big deal.
Yeah,
Um, I would then isolate both the students. I'd separate them. I'd let them kind of think about what happened for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then I would interrogate, or not, that's a harsh word, but I would question them both, seeing kind of what happened. Are these kids friends? Was it just a friendly, scuffle that got out of hand? Or it doesn't sound like that since the kid brought a knife, but just see what's going on. Get both sides of the story. I think it's important to get both sides. Don't just take one kid's word for it. Uh,
definitely.
and then obviously, once you hear the sides of the story, there has to be discipline. Getting in a fight in and of itself is enough to be disciplined, suspended in our school, but especially with a weapon involved, definitely some sort of suspension. Like what Jessica said, for the student with a reading disorder, I would just discipline him as if he was a regular student, not on an IEP. With the behavior disorder student, then we would definitely need to see if this behavior was a manifestation of his disorder, or what's going on. But definitely a suspension, and any more than 10 days, like Jessica said, we got to have that meeting and notify the proper people. But at our school, it's most likely going to be 3 days. 3 days for fighting if it's the first time. If it's more than three, or if it's not the first time, then definitely longer. Um, then I would definitely look at some sort of schedule change. Make sure those kids aren't in class anymore. Get them out of whatever classes they're in together. Um, or if they are friends and they both admitted like it just got out of hand, it's a scuffle, then maybe triage, daily check-ins. Um, I would maybe have one of the counselors do like a backpack check every day just to make sure the kid didn't bring a knife again. Because if that happens, then we have other issues. And then maybe since they're both special needs students, some sort of behavior plan, some sort of, like I was mentioning, a check-in, check-out sheet just to see how they're feeling, gauge their, you know, feelings on school. How's it going? How are they feeling today? Um, The next step would be create a behavior plan, behavior or safety plan. Again, just working with the counselors, working with the SRO if the school has one, mental health practitioners if needed. And then if it becomes a recurring issue, if the student consistently starts fights and brings weapons, then definitely look at some sort of alternative placement. Uh, if he's proven that he can't handle the regular education environment, then some sort of alternative placement where his special education services are still provided. So I think similar answers. I think we both kind of have the same idea. Talk to the kids, see what's going on. Get the weapon first, number one, and then some sort of plan. And if it's again, if the behavior, if the suspension is long enough, then we have to have the meeting to see if his disorder is causing this behavior, and then how can we fix it?
Yeah, yep, definitely. One of the big things I know, when I was talking to administrators at my schools, definitely keep an eye on the length of suspension, even if this current suspension is short. Does it put them over the edge of having 10 cumulative days of suspension for the year? That way you are having a manifestation meeting if needed.
Absolutely. And I
And then
think
I definitely agree with the behavior plan too. If they don't already have a behavior plan,
yes,
definitely come up with one or modify your current behavior plan because it may not be working. So,
something's not working if it keeps happening.
yeah.
And I think in my school, it is less than 3 inches. So if they bring a knife,
Okay.
personally, I think if they bring a knife, it should be considered a weapon, but less than 3 inches.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I work in a school in Iowa. And when I was talking to one of my principals, I was shocked to find out in Iowa that it's not until 5 inches,
Yeah,
which
five
seems
inches is
crazy.
that's a big knife.
Yeah.
So,
That's a big blade. Yeah, for sure.
well, that's all I have for the scenario. Do you have
Yep.
anything further you'd like to add?
Nope. I think that's about it.
All right. Well, until next time, then.